Thank you for staying with SABC News. In your markets news, Asian markets breathed a sigh of relief today as the incoming head of the Japan Central Bank soothed fears of an early end to super easy monetary policy. Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined by 1.5% and mainland China's Shanghai index shed 0.6%, but Japan's Nikkei rose by 1.3%. The dollar was a little changed against most major currencies and treasuries looked set to continue their advance into a third day. Locally, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was lower in early trade. The all-share index has declined by 0.7% to 78,455. The industrial 25 index is 0.6% weaker. Financials are 0.3% down. The top 10 resources index lost 1.3%, and the precious metals and mining index has shed nearly 0.5%. Gold is trading at $1,820 a barrel. That's gold and platinum at $938 per ounce. And the price of Brent crude oil is at $83.27 a barrel. All right, we have a couple of news coming out this coming week, and we also had a very interesting week in terms of the budget, and also we are obviously taking a look at the grey listing decision that is meant to happen later this evening. And I've invited Jones Gondo, the senior research analyst at Nedbank, our market analyst for today, to join us and just to give us an understanding of how we can make a sense of everything that is happening. Jones, thank you so much for joining us. Earlier today, I was looking at the SENS announcement where Eskom has officially welcomed this government support package structured to cover their portion of their debt service costs over the next 36 months. They also say that this is going to enable them to take immediate and much needed capital and investment programs required to reduce load shedding. Do you think that this will be enough to have the market look at Eskom a little differently, considering everything that has happened this week?
Yeah, thank you. I think the issues that Eskom, they were very complex, and at least getting what is effectively this bailout from the sovereign just takes one leg of the complexity away, and they can prioritize maintenance going forward. But I think we mustn't be under any illusion that the extent of breakdowns and repairs that need to happen won't happen overnight. There's still some time still to come, and I think we will have load shedding with us for a longer period, at least for this year.
Mm-hmm. Governance issues, as well as having a stable executive at SOEs, particularly Eskom at this time, is very, very important. And I can imagine that this latest decision by it having appointed acting GCO Khalib Kasim, especially who's a finance person, might give market confidence, no?
Yeah, the market has known the CFO, Caleb Kasim, now interim CEO, for a long time now, and I think it does give some continuity, particularly for the fact that the board is relatively new, and I think to give some direction and impetus to some of the initiatives that are long-standing, such as the unbundling of Eskom and the reforms that need to happen in the energy sector to allow more independent power producers to bring energy onto the grid. And of course, I think it's just to continue with the process of entrenching better controls and governance within Eskom going forward.
Yeah. Earlier this week, you and I did preview the budget and looking at particularly SOEs. What has been your highlights with regards to the latest budget that we saw this week? Are you encouraged at all by it? And when we talk about the SOEs that we spoke about earlier this week, let's move away from Eskom because we've spoken about it. Other allocations such as SAA and the post office, what do they say to you?
Look, I think the basket of SOEs in general, there was no more road to kick a can down. They need the intervention, and the intervention needed to be decisive. It's either you close the entities and because the business case is just not there, or the government really picks up any of the liabilities. So in the case of SAA, taking a step forward to allow operationally these entities to deliver services to the country, to businesses, and so on. For Transnet, for instance, that support was well guided for in the medium-term budget policy statement last year. And I think the work that continues to happen at that entity requires a lot of attention because it's quite urgent for the economy to grow. So I think it's one step forward in the budget that they've really committed to take away the financial strain, or some of the financial strain, and we can actually just focus on reform implementation, as it were.
Yeah. Jones, in news just in South Africa has been grey-listed as expected by the Financial Action Task Force. In layman's terms, what does this mean for you and I?
It means that if you are an importer and exporter, the amount of paperwork that you would need to prove your sources of funding or the goods that you're moving, as just one example, will become a little bit more laborious and onerous. At the same time, I think it's just a reflection of the fact that how the rest of the world has to engage with us, has to be at an increased or enhanced level of diligence. And I think the administrative burden is quite significant. We will look to see how the market reacts via indicators such as the rand.
Yeah.
But we think that the rand had pretty much priced for this outcome.
Yeah. Just before I let you go, I don't have much time. Next week, one of the key data that's coming out is the quarterly labor force survey, obviously measuring unemployment in the country. What is your expectation as Nedbank?
We think that it'll still come out as a marginally better outcome. I think we're on a trend of still very high unemployment. And I think the quarterly labor force survey is just going to entrench that the response that was in the budget, that we need to get the economy moving. Marginal reductions in unemployment doesn't make a big headway into denting the scourge of poverty that's in this country.
Jones, things definitely not looking good on the local economy front, especially with those breaking news and, of course, what you've just told us about the expectations for jobs, given that rolling blackouts have been impacting a lot of businesses, and thereby also we may see that also impacting the ability of companies to absorb and create jobs. Thank you so much for your time.